The Galactic Military Academy's Deathworld survival course had a reputation that preceded it across 17 star systems. Out of every 100 cadets who enrolled, only 12 completed the program. The mortality rate among species classified as fragile was even worse: 23% fatalities, 60% permanent injury. Instructor Jothic's eyes narrowed as he reviewed the new enrollment roster on his datapad. 2 humans. He clicked his mandibles in what his species considered an expression of deep concern. In his 47 cycles teaching this course, he had never seen a human complete even the first rotation. Their homeworld, while technically classified as a Class 7 Deathworld, was on the lower end of the spectrum. These creatures simply weren't built for true survival training. "This is inadvisable," Jothic announced to the assembly of cadets gathered in the briefing arena. His massive chitinous form towered over the mixed group of species Krell shock troopers with their reinforced exoskeletons, Vorthanist commandos whose bodies could withstand pressure differentials that would pulverize most organic matter, and Threxian warriors bred specifically for combat in hostile environments. And to humans, standing near the back, the female, Jasmine, appeared remarkably unremarkable. Average height for her species at approximately 1.7 meters. Standard bipedal configuration. No natural armor plating. No venomous capabilities, no enhanced sensory organs. Her companion, Kevin, was marginally taller but equally unimpressive from a biological standpoint. "The first rotation will take place on Kirith 9, Jothic continued, his translator device rendering his clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. Surface temperature oscillates between -40 and +60 degrees Celsius. Atmosphere is breathable but contains trace amounts of chlorine gas. Native predators include the Kirith stalker." He pulled up a holographic display of the 6-legged apex predator, which can detect bioelectrical signatures from 3 kilometers away and has never failed to kill its prey. A murmur rippled through the assembled cadets. Several of the Krell shifted their weight, battle-ready despite the briefing environment. "You will survive for 72 hours with minimal supplies. Communications will be jammed. Rescue will not be available until the rotation expires." Jothic's gaze fixed on the 2 humans. "I strongly recommend you withdraw from this program. It is not designed for your species' limitations." Jasmine raised her hand. "With respect, Instructor, we'd like to continue." Kevin nodded beside her, adjusting the standard-issue survival pack on his shoulders. Jothic's mandibles clicked in resignation. He had seen this before, worthful bravado preceding inevitable tragedy. "Very well, you have been warned." 71 hours and 43 minutes later, Instructor Jothic stood at the extraction point on Kirith 9, his environmental suit reading the hostile atmosphere outside. The first cadets were beginning to emerge from the wilderness, many injured, all exhausted. A Vorthanist commando limped forward, one appendage clearly broken. 2 Krell assisted each other, their armor scorched from an encounter with acid-spitting flora. The tally was grim. 3 confirmed fatalities, 7 critically injured and already evacuated, 4 more still unaccounted for, including both humans. "Instructor," one of his assistants called out, motion sensors detecting approach, vector Septon Savan Alpha. Jothic turned, expecting to see perhaps one survivor crawling towards safety. What he saw instead made all 4 of his eyes widen in disbelief. Jasmine walked into the clearing with the casual gait of someone returning from a pleasant hike. Her survival suit was dirty but intact. More incredibly, she was eating something, chewing methodically while carrying what appeared to be a makeshift satchel fashioned from local plant fibers. Kevin emerged from the tree line behind her, dragging a travois loaded with supplies. He was humming, "Cadet Jasmine, Cadet Kevin, report." Jothic commanded his translator, barely able to keep up with his rapid mandible clicks. "Sir." Jasmine swallowed her mouthful and stood at attention, though she kept the half-eaten item in her hand. "Rotation completed successfully, sir. No injuries to report." "That is you." Jothic's translator momentarily failed as he struggled to process this impossibility. How the temperature fluctuations alone should have induced hypothermia or hypothermia. "The chlorine content, actually not that bad," Sir Kevin interjected, setting down the travois. "Reminds me of camping in the Rockies back home. Well, except for the chlorine smell. That took some getting used to, but our mucous membranes adapted after the first day." "Adapted," Jothic repeated, incredulous. "And the stalkers?" he demanded. "Sensors indicated at least 3 in your operational area." Jasmine held up what she'd been eating. Upon closer inspection, Jothic realized it was cooked meat. "The stalkers were definitely scary at first, sir, but they hunt based on bioelectric signatures, right? We figured out they get confused if you stay near certain types of rock formations that emit natural electromagnetic fields. After that, it was just a matter of setting up proper camp." "You camped?" "Well, yes, sir." Kevin opened the satchel on the travois, revealing an impressive collection of local flora samples. "We also took the liberty of cataloging potentially useful resources. This tuber here is actually edible after boiling removes the toxins. Tastes a bit like sweet potato. And this plant produces fibers strong enough for rope making." Jasmine took another bite of the cooked stalker meat. "The predators themselves are quite nutritious once you cook them properly. The trick is to dig a Dakota firehole to minimize smoke and avoid attracting more of them. Zhotkik stood motionless, his sophisticated evolutionary threat assessment systems completely overwhelmed. These humans had not merely survived, they had thrived. They had turned a rotation designed to push elite warriors to their absolute limits into what they apparently considered a recreational excursion. "I don't," he began, then stopped. In 4 decades of military instruction across the harshest environments known to galactic civilization, he had never encountered anything like this. "Sir, if I may," Jasmine said, finishing her meal and wiping her hands on her suit. "You mentioned this was just the first rotation. There are 7 more rotations," Zhotkik admitted, his voice hollow, each progressively more challenging. Kevin and Jasmine exchanged glances, then Kevin smiled, that peculiar human expression that showed teeth, which most species found unsettling. "Excellent, sir. We're looking forward to it." As the 2 humans moved toward the extraction shuttle, Zhotkik pulled up Earth's classification in the galactic database. Class 7 Deathworld. Gravity 1.0 standard. Oxygen nitrogen atmosphere. Temperature range -89 to 57 degrees Celsius. Atmospheric pressure fluctuations extreme. Native megafauna abundant and hostile. Microbial diversity off scale. Natural disasters comprehensive. He had dismissed it as lower end of the Deathworld spectrum. Watching Jasmine laugh at something Kevin said as they boarded the shuttle, still carrying their trophy samples and looking none the worse for wear, Zhotkik realized something that would fundamentally change his understanding of the galaxy. Perhaps, he thought, the classification system had been measuring the wrong variable all along. Perhaps it wasn't about how deadly a world was to visit. Perhaps it was about what kind of creatures a world created when they grew up there. Behind him, a Krell warrior who had barely survived the rotation whispered to his companion, "They were eating the stalkers." Zhotkik's mandibles clicked softly this time in what might have been his species' equivalent of nervous laughter. The galaxy, he suspected, had severely underestimated humanity. Again,